What is up, guys? Welcome back again, and today we are working on a 2007 Buick Lucerne, and what we're going to be doing today is replacing the water pump. So if you need to do this, stay tuned. Alright guys, so here we go. It's a 2007 Buick Lucerne. It's a 3.8 liter engine. Water pump is right here. We need to remove the belt. It looks like we need to remove the power steering pump. I do need to remove it because it's leaking, so I'm going to remove it anyways. But if you look really closely, this one bolt that goes back here, this one is for the water pump, and it's going to hit the power steering pump anyways to remove it. Also, another thing, the coolant reservoir goes here. I took that off. It's just two 10mm bolts. One of them goes right there, and the other one goes down. The other one goes right here. I also took off this, I think they call it a dog bone mount or something like that, but it's just a nut here and this bolt that goes right there. You really, I mean, if you want to, you don't have to take that off or this off, but I like to make myself some room, so I took that off and this off also, so I can get better footage for you guys. So your two options are to remove the pulley by itself or remove the entire power steering pump. Since I'm replacing the power steering pump, I'm just gonna go ahead and replace the power steering pump, but we're gonna focus today on replacing this water pump. So for starters, I'm gonna put a socket. Before we take off the belt, we need to leave the belt in place, and the four 8mm bolts that the power steering pulley has around it, we need to break them loose with the belt on. That way the belt can hold the pulley in place. So before we take off the belt, we need to break loose the four 8mm bolts that hold the pulley down in place. But I forgot to film this, so you need to do that before you take off your belt. With a 50mm socket, I'm going to turn to the left, and the tensioner should pull down. That way I can take off the belt. So let's do that first. There you go. So take off the belt. Now we're going to go ahead and replace this belt anyway, so I will put a picture somewhere around this area here so you guys can see how the belt is routed. To take out the power steering pump is going to take a 13mm socket, and the way you take it off with a 13mm socket is you see these holes right here on the pump itself, and then you can see the bolt back there. So you put the socket through the hole until you get to the actual bolt right there on the back. So we're going to go ahead and get it loose. There goes the first one. And then the second one should be, I can feel it with my finger. The second one is way at the bottom. I only feel two bolts, so I think that's all it takes. So now they're all broken loose. I'm just gonna get these bolts out with my hands since they're already loose. There he goes. Those two bolts are out. Let me go ahead and take them off so I don't lose them, and put them somewhere where I keep track of them. There it goes. Now we're gonna move the pump out of the way. And now onto our water pump. Alright, now that the pump's out of the way, we already broke this four 8mm bolts loose here. So I'm going to go ahead and take them off out of the pulley. That way we can take off this pulley, and you guys can see all the bolts that hold the pump together. I think most of them are like 10mm bolts, and there's like 1, 12, or 13 on the other side, but most of them are 10mm. And you guys can actually see the way the water pump looks compared to the new one, because from out here it looks all dirty, and then the pulley's on its way, but that way you guys can see it looks exactly like the one the customer brought me. There it goes. We're gonna put the four bolts here so we don't lose them. And there it is, the pump right here. This is the brand new pump right here, so you guys can see it. So it's right there. So we're gonna take off the 8mm bolts that go up here. The 10mm bolts that go right here. Then we have a couple of large ones here. Maybe those are 12. And there's another one right here. So basically, this is the water pump the way that's the water pump right there. So you guys can see all the holes that all the bolts go through. You can see the larger holes with like 12 or 13 millimeter bolts. So we're gonna take those off, and the rest are 10 millimeters. So let me show you how to take all those off. Alright, so let's break off the larger bolts, which are actually 13. And here they are. That one's loose. That one's loose, and then there is, you can see it right here from this, the other power steering, from the other water pump. There's 2 more on this side over here, so we're gonna break those off. Before I take off the bolts, I'm gonna check how long they are so I can make sure that I put them in the same spot that they were. I already have a drip pan on the bottom because I know water is gonna come out of here. The 2 bolts on this side are loose. One in the bottom and one in the top. And they're both the same size, so it doesn't matter. So these ones are the ones on the right hand side. The 2 on the left side are loose. Now let me check both of them are the same size. There's the one on the left side. There's the one on the right side. They're both the same size, and compared to the ones on the right, so all 4 of them are the same size. So the big ones, it doesn't matter where we put them. Now we're just gonna take off the 10 millimeter ones. As you can see from this pump, we have 2 on the bottom, and then we have this one. I think this one is just a guide, and I think this one is just a guide. So I don't think this one's a bolt, and I don't think this one's a bolt. These 2 are guides. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4. Let me double check on that. Yeah, the one in the bottom is a guide. So then we have 1 in the bottom. Break it loose. One on the top, second one on the top. Third one on the top. Now, just to take off all the bolts, I'm gonna start off with the bottom one since it's the hardest one to get to. Another bolt off. Those are all, should be, those smaller bolts should all be the same size. Alright, it's off. Now I'm going to run my hand all around the water pump to make sure all the bolts are off. There's 1 hole there, 1 hole there. This bolt is off. This is just a guide, 2 bolts here. And there it is, and it's pretty stuck in there. So now, here, there is like this little hole right here, if you guys can see it. Let me show you guys on the new one. This is the new one, and you guys can see right here, there's like a little gap. I'm going to put the pry bar there and pry it open. There it goes. Here it is, the old water pump. I think it was leaking from somewhere there. So what I'm gonna do now is clean off all that surface area right there so I can install the new gasket. This is the part number for the water pump. If anybody wants to know, this is the water pump that the customer brought me. So there it is, that's the part number. Now I'm gonna put back the new water pump. I already cleaned off the surface. Here's the new gasket for the water pump. It comes with the kit when you buy the water pump, so it should have no issues feeding it. Here it is. This is a new water pump. So there it is. All I'm gonna do is put a little bit of silicone right here, and this is just to hold the gasket in place. Really don't need to, but that's just me so I can hold the gasket in place. All right, there it is. I put a little bit of silicone just to hold the gasket in place, and now to put it back on. So there it goes. It's gonna go right there. Let me get this top bolt, which is a small one. It's gonna go right there. Thread it in with your hands. Always, anything that you do, you want to do the first couple threads with your hands. There it is. And once it goes into the guides, we can start putting in the bigger bolts, or any of the bolts really. But like I was telling you guys, he has a guide right here and another one on the bottom on the right hand side. Alright guys, so all I gotta do now is re-tying up the whole water pump all the way around. The 4 13mm bolts and all the 10mm bolts, tying them up. Put that pulley back on, the one that goes on top of the water pump with the 4 8mm bolts. Put my power steering pump back on. It just has 2 bolts, but I'm gonna replace that, so I'm not gonna do that right now. But basically, if this is all you're doing, you can replace that one back in, put those two 13mm bolts back on, And that's it. Put your belt back on and you're done with your job. All right, here we go. All completed. Now to put that cover back on and the water reservoir I was talking about. But all right, guys, I really hope you guys enjoyed today's video. Don't forget to thumbs up, subscribe, hit that bell for me, share the channel. I will catch you guys in my next video. Thank you for watching, and you guys have yourselves a great day.